transitioned last year to AFOs for more support, especially with falling. And I've just been told so much conflicting information about whether they should wear AFOs during the day or only at night. He also has them at night, but he doesn't want to wear them at night. He constantly complains, and we adjust them, the therapist adjusts them all the time and try to like make it more comfortable but still provide a good stretch. So I guess my question is, two-part, like should he, if we're not gonna do the nighttime AFOs, if I just can't make him do that, should we continue with the daytime AFOs? Is that something that is detrimental in any way, or,
I do love nighttime AFOs for my kids. If we can keep that ankle stretch going at night, that is a wonderful thing. So that is worth working with PTs and behavioral therapists to get used to, in my opinion, often. Every child's different, and I realize it's not always feasible. Sometimes we can get kids to practice wearing their nighttime AFOs during the day while they're watching TV or while they're doing homework or listening to an audiobook, and so that's a way to kind of get used to that feeling, and then wearing them gradually overnight where they can practice wearing them for a few hours and then increase that time over time. That nighttime good positioning can be really helpful. A lot of our children will wear SMOs during the day, so that allows them. I like my kids to walk during the day, however works for them. And so sometimes that involves more support, sometimes less is needed. But we tend to use less support during the day and then more at nighttime. However, some kids have different needs that may be in addition to their muscular dystrophy that may require that bigger support. But typically we use a little less during the day and a little more at night. But I'll pass it on to physical therapy.
So I would agree with everything she just said. We love the night boots. I heard you mention the amount of stretch and you try to adjust that. So we have learned over time that when we do night splinting, we don't put our boys in a stretch. We put them in what we call comfortable end range, and that's because over time, one, the stretch splints tend to be a little bulkier. They have the straps, they have the pins, they tend to be a little bit heavier. We don't necessarily stop families from doing that if it's successful for them, but I think over time we've had a lot of families that come in and say that they can't wear the braces because they're bulky, they're heavy, the kids won't tolerate them, and if we back off a little bit and put them in what we call comfortable end range, which if they have that 90-degree curve just a little bit above that, it's at least preventing gravity from keeping their foot down, so they're at least in that 90-degree angle for whatever portion they can wear. As far as the daytime braces, I would agree that in general, we don't recommend AFOs for daytime with kids specifically with muscular dystrophy. However, it sounds like your son might have some very specific needs, so there certainly have been times where we have done that. It's been kind of few and far between, but it's usually because there's something secondary, like a very complicated fit. So it'd be harder to speak with that, and I think that would be talking to your local PT about why. So I don't know that I think it has to be kind of a case-by-case situation. If they are wearing the daytime braces and it's keeping them in a good stretch, the nighttime braces, we want our kids to be braced at a decent position for, we would say, 6 to 8 hours during the day. Sometimes that's every other night. Sometimes if there are wearing a daytime brace, it becomes a little less important. But we also try that strategy of, sometimes it's after school for a few hours.
Others are more aggressive and they want it stretched back, and he is in pain. And when he wakes up in the day, he's just like, "Mommy, and he doesn't want to go to school." And so to me, that's not worth it. And then but if I only did 90 degrees, some of them are saying that's not even worth it. You might as well not even do it.
Keeping at least that flat foot. We know the kids, all our guys need a little bit more than that. For a normal gait, you would need more than 90 degrees. But I think what we have figured out is kind of like what you're saying. If the option is my son is either not going to wear these braces or he's going to be in pain every morning, or we can say, let's do the little bit we can that everybody tolerates. Keep them in at least a 90-degree angle so we know that they have that long stretch or that long position overnight. In your case, I think that's what we would tell. So if families are coming in and they're successful with night stretching, and we don't take that away, because if it's working for them, that's fantastic, and there's not necessarily anything wrong with stretching at night. I think
we also get some conflicting information about the AFOs. We're told that he needs to be wearing those every day, on top of the night splints. So we make sure he's wearing them at least 8 hours a day, but is that doing more damage than good that we're not realizing?
I think what you want to be careful of is we want to look at the reason that the kids are toe walking. We have tons of toe walkers that we see in physical therapy for a variety of reasons. And for the majority of those boys with Duchenne and Becker muscular dystrophy tend to walk for a different reason. They're using a compensatory pattern, so it's not tightness, it's not sensory, it's not all those other things that the AFOs are often effective for. It's more of a compensatory pattern for weakness. When their bottom muscles get weak, which is one of the first muscles, they tend to have to reposition themselves to where they can use a biomechanical advantage. So I don't know that it's detrimental to their muscles, but I think it's probably harder on their function. It's not letting them use their efficient patterns. So like I said, it's been very few and far between that we have gone with daytime braces, except in some exceptional circumstances where we have kids that are idiopathic toe walkers that were like, this is beyond what they would have if they just had a muscular dystrophy. But if just for kids that are dealing with toe walking because they're weak, because of a muscular dystrophy, our recommendation would not be to put them in a daytime brace, but to use the nighttime brace to maintain the range and let them use those compensatory strategies that they need over time to be functional.